What are you doing?
Now he's got the best style.
It's all fake.
Look at your pompadour pumping.
I felt special up until now.
Dude, Julia's face in that moment was great. She's like, ooh, shoot. When my dad passed away, I mean, that next week, my sister and I are standing on stage leading worship like we were happy. All the while, I'm going, this sucks, bro.
Said I didn't want to be on this episode of Joel Was Here. It's a quiet food, but it was the loud.
Oh, Lord.
Man.
Oh, Lord.
You ready? Let's get it. Absolutely not. Oh boy. Hey folks, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of That's How You Feel. We got a special show planned today. I am, as always, your host. I'm Caleb, and I'm joined by my other host, Levi. We're your hosts. We got a hot show planned for you guys. I'm repeating myself already, and we haven't even started yet.
I told you we were going to mess the intro up.
Economy of
I'm all
words.
good, though.
Real quick, so before we get into the segments.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a review. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. We love your support. We're loving the feedback we gotten so far. Thank you for doing that in advance.
Also, if there's anything you would like us to talk about, any topics that come to mind, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We would love to maybe discuss them on the show and, see what comes about. Speaking of comments, I have a couple comments from the YouTube. First one I want to shout out is from our episode 2.
Episode 2? Okay.
On Side Hustles.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you know this person, but it's from P. John Song with an extra G. And it says, I have never experienced Caleb hustling on anything.
Well, Mr. John Song, I know this person. His name's Patrick. He's right. I've never hustled on anything. So.
But I also...
I love you, Patrick. Thank you for the comment. Appreciate your support.
Also, Lacey Shockley, when we talked about the brain mapping, she really wanted to get brain mapped now. But also, I also want to shout out Leslie Higgins FC3XS in episode 4. She said that in this particular episode, it resonated with me and was quite insightful. And I really appreciated the transparency and could relate and encourages me to think about certain things on a deeper level. Great job.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate you watching. Thank you for the comment.
I think that's all for Chris, because that was Chris's episode.
My nephew Titus wanted me to give him a shout out on the podcast.
What's up, Titus?
Titus said, "Hey, he sent me a text that I want a shout out on your next podcast." So I said, "Okay."
What can you tell me about Titus? What can you say?
He's my nephew.
The fact that he's texting. God,
well,
also, this is my brother's hoodie, Dojo in the Sky. You can't see it, but I told him I'd wear it on the show. So,
Devi?
Devi? Yeah, Devi. David. His name is David.
Listen, I texted you this when I was in LA. I didn't know if it was David or Devi, so I call him Devi now because that's what he goes by.
You can call him whatever you want. Also, I told you, you already know this, but you don't know this. Episode 1.
They don't know he's here yet.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. So episode 1, I think we talked about I don't have a record player. One of our listeners sent me a record player.
You are famous.
I'm there, man. People are already sending in stuff.
Wait, who sent you a record player?
His name is Eric, and I appreciate him for listening.
Eric, I want a new Apple MacBook or what else is there?
You could talk. You say there's anything you don't have. Maybe there's a listener out there that might go, I have one of those lying around.
Julia broke her AirPods. We need some new AirPods. I would love a Roomba. I'm just kidding.
Hey, P. John Song sent me the Roomba that I have, not for the show. But
okay,
it was a present.
That's cool though. You're actually getting mail. I've got nothing.
Yeah,
but that's okay. I will say we're still trying to shout out for that. What are you doing?
Now he's got the best style. He's ready.
It's all fake.
This was a gift.
From who?
Brandon Trent.
Rick Ross.
Oh, was it really?
Mm-hmm. Brandon Trent gave this to me.
Well, then I feel like it's real now.
Probably.
Where else am I going to wear this thing, man?
You wear it all the time.
I don't.
You wore it yesterday.
I did not.
Yes, you did. You had your G and you had that one.
What do they call that link?
This is a Cuban.
That's right. Jason Samio, that's for you.
I did not wear this one yesterday. This one's a little large for my taste. but it is nice. I do like it.
Well, I will say you see that he's here today, but a lot of people have requested, since we've mentioned him so much on the podcast.
And I said I would not be on the show if he was here. So I'm going to go ahead and get out.
Get your butt back in that chair. But this is the Mr. Joel Driskell.
Canned applause. Hey, everybody. What's up?
All right, Joel, thanks for joining us. That's going to be that.
So thanks for coming on the show. See you later.
Record low time. Nice.
Yeah.
This will be the most watched for sure.
Oh, I can watch that one.
4
There
minutes.
are a lot of people who are like, oh, I haven't got to finish your episode yet. But hey, question of the day. You came up with this. Actually, what you put 2 on there.
I got 2.
What's the hot dogs?
We'll get to hot dogs. So
If you say
the question, you've probably seen it, so just get ready for it. So the question is, you get 1 hour in any store, and anything you can like grab and load on to a cart or like a pallet thing, you get to keep. You get 1 hour in a store. What store are you going to? Don't answer at once now here.
there's a lot of stores to think of.
Caleb, what store would I go to?
I'm asking. Okay.
What store would I go to? You tell me. You
I'm
know
not
exactly what
I'm
store I
not
would
telling
go to.
you what store you would go
It's
to.
no secret what store I would go to.
I really have no idea where you'd
The
go.
Nike store.
Oh, you really?
Absolutely. The Nike outlet. Just throw me out there for an hour. I'm good.
That's a good
The
answer.
one out like in the Legends? Like
Yeah, for sure.
I would
No, take me to the one in Oregon.
maybe.
Why Oregon?
Okay. Where would you go, Levi?
That's where it started.
Probably the first 2 that came to mind was Best Buy or Sam's Club.
You know, I was thinking about Costco. Like, I would go to Costco.
They have
But-
everything.
First of
You're
all,
such a
I would
domesticated
go
woman.
to Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good one.
Get me a little like dolly thing and just fridges, washers, and dryers.
You think if you went to Cabela's,
But
you
you
could
said
get
it
one of
was
their
just
stuffed
one.
animals?
What are you talking about?
You said just
No,
one cart.
Skipped over that one.
You can load it in. If I can load it on
You're
that
gonna
thing
load,
and it's
how many
fitting.
fridges you gonna load in on one cart?
All right, then I would.
Oh, you can stack. You got those pallet loaders. You
You
can
gotta
stack
get it out the
those
door,
high.
man.
Nah.
I can do it.
All right.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right. So the other. I'm sorry. That was a dumb question.
If you say what I think you're gonna say,
It's got to do with hot dogs. So the scenario is you are a hot dog salesman at a ballpark.
Okay.
How are you announcing that you have hot dogs for sale? How are you making? What's your call out to the people that you have hot dogs?
get your hot dogs. Get your hot dogs, folks.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of enthusiasm. You have to go back to training. If I was your manager, like Levi, you're just not giving me enough.
Is there some specific answer you're looking
There's
for there?
no right or wrong answer. How would you shout out that you had hot dogs?
Get your hot dogs.
Because, like, you know, when you're at the ballpark,
Right?
there's people like Sheridan's, you know, cold beer. Like, they're just shouting it out. How would you shout out hot dogs?
What do you want me to say? Nathan's.
There's no right or wrong answer.
I think
I'm just curious.
he's got.
It's just fun. It doesn't matter. It's just
there's an
it's
angle
funny
he's
to
looking
me.
for.
I know,
Of
that's
course.
what I'm confused about.
I don't have
I
a
would
joke
go-
for this.
Did you just wake up at
Probably
What would you say?
the route of Jonah Hill and Accepted. Have you seen it?
I have, but
You know what I'm
refresh
talking
my memory.
I'm not saying that.
You can't
on
say
here.
it.
It's a kid
I'll
friendly
watch
show.
it after
Family-oriented
this.
podcast.
So did you wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, man, how would I sell hot dogs at a baseball stadium?
No, I saw that question.
Buy
posed on
one
TikTok,
buy
and I was
2
like,
hot
that's
dogs,
funny.
get a cup of hot dog water free.
Oh. That's a youth group game that
Oh gosh,
goes
dude,
wrong.
Youth group games are the worst.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go downstairs, chug milk, and see who throws up first.
Do you remember Mama Bird?
Oh yes.
Where the one person would chew up the food and then drop it into another person's mouth?
Yes.
I thought
That's some white people stuff. Yes.
That's what I thought. I was like,
It's fair.
I
You
said
can
that too
say
much
it.
in the last episode. That's white people stuff. I was like, I'm coming off as racist here. But
It's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. We
Yeah,
like,
no.
have you physically seen that happen?
yes.
Oh, it happened at
100%.
Eastside. So we went to camp over in Seaverville, Tennessee, and they did it there. And so
It's
we
called
came back
Seaverville.
and we did it probably 3 times.
Kids chewing up food and then spitting it in someone's mouth.
Mhm.
I mean, whatever. Hey, you know, weird flex. But
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask the stupid question, is a hot dog a sandwich? Which I hate that
I
question.
don't know if it is or not. Don't care.
It's a hot-
Would you like to hear my hot dog call?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lizzie's. Get your glizzies here.
Yuck.
So
Fresh
that's what you were waiting for.
No, I wasn't. I was just like, if you had, because I had a friend that used to work at Kaufman, and he had to sell Sheridan's ice cream. And I was like, how did you say you were selling? He's like, Sheridan's here.
That would be me.
It made me laugh. So I just thought that was kind of fun.
Okay, interesting.
You know what? I'm the only one coming up with questions of the day here. If you want to come up with something better, you're more than welcome to, friend.
Sounds good.
Joel, if you got one, throw it out before we get into the topic.
Hey, Joel, do you have a question?
What is the worst advice you've ever given?
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
What's my question?
I gave really bad, like, theological, like, Christian advice once when I was...
Was it Medea style?
No. I think I may have told someone God does not love you. Like, I may have, like, because when I was very young and, like, fresh on fire, and I was just, like, real angry about everything. I was like, you're a sinner. God doesn't love you. And I was just... I remember who I told that to, and I'm like, oh boy.
How's that relationship? Is Emily still? She's still with you? That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've given real bad, like, Christian advice, and I'm like, oh boy.
I can't think of any bad. I mean,
Lots of
this
bad.
sounds. Well, I can't think of bad advice. I mean, I'm trying to think.
Now I'm batting 100. I'm batting 100 on my advice.
I would disagree.
100. Doing good.
300. What? I don't know what a good number is.
1,000.
I'm batting 1,000.
That's the
Yeah.
phrase.
Now I'm batting 1,000.
Is this a baseball themed episode?
Well, I don't know. Worst advice you ever given?
Oh man.
Stay in that relationship.
No. Well, yeah.
Leave them.
No, I think. No. You need to stay in that relationship. Definitely. Oh gosh.
As in, that was the bad advice?
Yeah, that was
okay.
the bad advice. That was, because you kind of saw it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping for the best, right? You're just shooting 3-pointers with a blindfold on. Like, well, I'll see what happens. Boy, was I wrong.
All right.
Didn't work out. Anyways, so Joel.
What's the worst advice you've ever given, Levi? Yes, that shirt looks good on you.
Actually, maybe one of them. I mean, I know I've done that. I don't know. I honestly nothing. I mean, I feel like I'm good at advice, but I don't know what.
You look
What
better
he's
with a
saying
mustache.
is his friends don't come to him for advice because they see his life and they're like, I'm not gonna ask that guy.
Sorry, I'm getting over this cough. I apologize.
fine.
Yeah, it's COVID.
I
It's
just
fine.
had the Ebola virus.
Oh,
Norovirus. Did you see that graphic?
did you
I
actually have
posted?
it?
No, I didn't have that. But did you see that graphic?
I saw part of it.
Dude, my favorite one was the one. This is terrible. But sitting on the toilet, his face. You know what it's
I don't know what we're
like
talking about.
when you get there on the toilet. And you're
It
like,
makes me think of
Sorry, that was
food poisoning.
yeah.
I used to call out all the time for food poisoning until I actually had it, and then I will never wish that on anybody.
Mm.
So Joel, some of our viewers, the two that are watching,
I think there's like 6 now.
six. Okay, hey, we made it.
6. All right.
Start signing autographs at 10. Know you, but some don't. So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, background.
Yeah. By the way, this is my other best friend. So
It's like your best friend.
you are my other best friend, and he is my other best friend.
Cohabitators of the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I had him first,
I know.
but you can have him now.
He's ready to give you up.
I will. I'm
Never
fixing
gonna
to walk out.
My name is Joel. Last name is Driskell.
Wait a second. Should we introduce him? Like the 3 things we did.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
All right. So Joel, this is what we're gonna do. Caleb, you tell him.
You're so dumb.
Was it from the first episode?
from the first episode
Yeah,
where I
no,
get to
know.
introduce who Joel is?
Yeah,
so
go for it. This
you
ought
got,
to be a dandy.
you got to come up with 3 different things that I tell people about than what I say.
I will say you're very kind when it comes to this stuff because
we
there
go.
are things you could say. I'm hoping you do
Gotcha.
because the people need to know.
Okay. All right. So Joel, he is my best friend. He is horribly dyslexic.
Amen. Praise God.
I did not know
And
that.
I might get this one wrong. He played Division II basketball.
Yes.
Those are 3 things that I would say about Joel.
I sat. That was nice.
You made it easy for me. I'm gonna go.
Sure
with
did.
I'm gonna go with the basics.
Slam dunk with the soccer ball and the cup.
Joel is a husband to Kassie. She is your better half, and by better half, I mean the better part of you.
Everybody who knows me knows that.
Also, not only are you a father to 2 awesome kiddos, but you're also a foster parent, and so you've had the opportunity to parent through a lot of fostering connections.
Yep.
And the last thing is you are an incredible worship leader, singer. In general, I've said it on the show before, but you've been a mentor to me. So
he's a worship pastor.
That's what sorry, I didn't say pastor. Anyways,
Thanks.
that's my 3 things.
See?
Thanks.
See? That was fun. We should have did that for my brother.
Incredibly.
Future guests will introduce.
I would have been like,
known?
Chris
is
He's
foreman.
black.
This is obvious.
Because you didn't know him that well. But now you text him more than I do now.
Well, that's because me and your brother homies.
Mm.
Your brother's the realist, I'm telling you.
Why is Joel here?
Well, because today's
Hold on. I'd like to say something. I would like to say that I am a huge fan of your guys' show. I am probably
I got so scared.
fan number 2. Okay. I can't say I'm the biggest fan because I think there's probably someone who wants to wear your skin.
Oh.
They're out there. But I am number 2.
Do we need bodyguards at this point?
Maybe.
I do.
But I love the show. And I feel
I think Damon will do it.
So proud. Oh, I bet he would. I feel so proud getting to watch every week because I'm like, these are my 2 friends. My best friend and my co-best friend. And they're out here doing what they love to do, which is to talk. At least Levi. Caleb, not so much.
We have the same wedding bands.
But
you just don't care about what people are saying, do
I would
you?
like to also shout out Julia McCall for this.
Big
because
shout out to
Julia
Julia.
is the realest.
The
of them all.
dopest, yeah.
Yeah, this is like Julia is the reason why this looks good. Like
Also, Cassandra, thank you for letting me come and do this tonight. I love
Yes.
Thanks, Kassie.
Thank you, Kassie. No, I appreciate that. It's been really, so I think we talked about it, but I was a little nervous to
you.
start
Long
this.
time watcher, first time guest.
Right? It's about
wonderful.
time. I think you'll be at
First time
episode
caller.
like 30. No, I'm kidding. But I was nervous to start this, but it's been really fun and exciting. And
Easy
also
because of Julia.
because of Julia, yes. Very
You got
easy. And,
brains.
also like just to be able to go out into the community, and I'm sure to your community as well as for your friends and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And to hear their positive feedback.
Yeah.
Has been really cool.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
man, all 7
So-
people that I know who watch it, they love it.
Is that your family?
It's me.
So today's topic,
Nice.
we brought Joel on. We're gonna have you on for a couple episodes, but today's topic is losing a loved one. So I know that you have been through loss in your life and have a really good perspective and some good things to talk about that. And so we thought we'd bring you on and kind of dive into a deep topic.
Okay.
So
So let me just ask. Have you ever thought, man, what's it like having a dad?
I thought you were kidding when you said you were going to do that to me. Oh my gosh.
I thought that's the question you were gonna ask earlier.
It's one of the
Goodness.
it's one of the most tasteless things I
First
do.
of all,
but
I
when
don't know
people
what it's
talk
like to have
about that,
that.
I'm like, I wish I had a dad.
Yeah.
Dead stare, deadpan, just
Do you know how hard it is for me to have the relationship that I have with my father, knowing that y'all have lost fathers? And
well, you should feel bad.
I do.
Good. I hope
do.
you lose sleep.
I don't.
Look,
feel
if
like
you can't
I'm in the
laugh
middle
about
right
it,
now.
you know.
No, you have to be able to laugh about it. That's, I think, one of the biggest.
Yeah, but like, when were you able to get to that point to where like there was like, because you like obviously you love your dad, like you are, I would say, one of the few people that had a great relationship with their dad. I mean, it wasn't always great, but you had overall you had a pretty good relationship with your dad, and so when he passed, the pain that was there was different from what some people that maybe did not have a good relationship with their parent when they pass. Because when some people have parents that and the relationship isn't there, he's not present, or it's an abusive relationship, when that person passes, it's like finally that person's gone,
released.
You're on the other side of that, where this person was and is everything to you, and now this person's gone, so the pain is completely different. Yeah, you just joked about it now with me at my expense. Thank you. But I guess this question's like super ahead of the
and I will say, I just want to say one thing to that is I think that even if so especially when you're super close, like there are definitely it hits hard, and there's a lot of grief that you're gonna we'll discuss. But I think even if you don't have a good relationship with someone, you're still gonna experience grief in a way you've never felt it before. It may not be because you have this person your whole life, but for what could have been, or like what there's a lot of things at that point that you will never have the opportunity to say or do. And so I think grief on an overall spectrum is huge, and no matter how big or small the losses to someone, sometimes it can really be impactful. But I do agree. I've heard many wonderful stories about your dad, and I wish I had the opportunity to meet him, but I feel like knowing you, I've got to meet a good piece of him.
See, this guy, he's nice. He's kind. I like this.
I'm going to let this conversation continue.
So, we will get to that question.
Yeah, I think we should. My question's kind of far down the road.
I will say, can you tell us a little bit? So we've acknowledged that you lost your dad.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your dad and kind of, how he passed, like things like that?
Yeah, he was mauled by a bear in the Alaskan bush.
So this is a serious episode.
We were talking about the Alaskan bush earlier, and I am an avoider.
Remember when I didn't want Joel on the podcast? Let's just
actually keep avoiding is a part of grief.
Yes. So
Round two, Joel.
Let's see. My father, Gary Driskell. What to say about that guy? Man, he was my best friend. He was a large man, larger than life, some would say. 6'4", 6'5"-ish, somewhere in there. Catch him on a good day. About 400 pounds. Big dude. His when AOL came out, you don't.
Yes,
remember
I do.
when AOL came
yes.
out? How old were you in But like in like the early 90s?
If you got AOL, how did you get AOL?
I mean, I was on the kids AOL. I actually got kicked off one time because
the correct answer was on a CD.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, you had to download it first.
No, move on.
Anyway, his screen name was Big Drisk. So, and I mean,
is that why you're Lil Drisk?
Yep. My brother is Drisk, so it's Big Drisk, Lil Drisk, and then my sister is somewhere in there. Who cares?
Joliet.
Yep. We love her. So yeah, he was a larger than life kind of guy and great personality. What was crazy to me was, so he passed, I just mentioned this earlier, February 23rd, 2008. I got the phone call. I remember going to sleep and waking up to my phone ringing at 7:14 a.m. and was told the news, and definitely the worst day of my life. And that came from his size. He was a big guy and he had weight loss surgery. He had that lap band thing where they go and blow your body up with gas and then put this silicone ring around it. And his body just didn't take to it. He ended up in the hospital a couple of different times from it in the course of a couple of weeks. And then had a really bad infection, was on the mend, was going to get released, but had stood up and sat back down and had a pulmonary embolism. So a blood clot came up through that pulmonary artery and right to the heart, cardiac arrest right away. So that was definitely easily the hardest day of my life, and one that I will never forget. Everything about it in my dorm room with Bradley, and him waking up to me screaming no. I remember running upstairs to tell one of my other friends who I was really close with at the time. His name was Joel too. And then I ran down the hall to my RD's office to let him know that I was not going to be there for a while because I was an RA, a resident assistant. And then I blacked out. And the next thing I knew, we were about 30 minutes away from KU Medical Center because I was at school in Bolivar at the time. And Bradley got me there in record time because,
yeah.
And at that point I'd called my sister and let her know. And so it was a time for sure. Not one that I ever want to relive, but yeah. Segue that.
I'm not going to be able to.
Well, no, and
this is like dumb and selfish. Did I meet you in 2008? Is that the same year I met you? Or did I meet you the year after?
So I met you at Joshua's graduation party in 2007.
Yeah. I remember
when
that.
you had your little Tootsie Rolls
Hush
on your head and your white T-shirt with all the
this is not
bracelets.
About me.
Can we get a picture
the
to put
cargo
on the...
shorts?
There is a picture somewhere
with like
exists.
the floppy tongue high top shoes.
So just because I've heard you,
but yes,
tell
2008 was when we really became.
All right.
Friends later that year.
So just because I've heard you tell stories, tell us a little bit about what your dad did, kind of how he molded you.
Yeah.
You said he was your best friend, but I know I've heard some stories, and I think there's some just kind of cool things that he was able to do in his life, as well as pour into you kids, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, speak on that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, my dad was a professional songwriter, and that's not something. I mean, I don't know that professional songwriters are people you hear about a whole lot because most of them are artists themselves. Like the singer-songwriter thing is more of a thing now.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the 80s and 90s, he wrote for some contemporary Christian artists. Sandy Patty, Wayne Watson had some big hits. And his biggest hit was a song called Another Time, Another Place. He wrote that out of my parents' divorce, their first divorce. Yeah, they divorced each other
I got
twice.
confused. I was like, wait, his parents' divorce or his divorce?
My parents' divorce.
So his divorce.
His divorce. Did I say his parents' divorce?
No, I think you said it correctly.
Did I say it? Yeah. I'm now confused. So he wrote this song called Another Time, Another Place. And what was really cool was working with Life Church. I got to go serve at the Hendersonville campus in Tennessee, which is just a few miles north of Nashville, where I was born and from originally. And I got to go have dinner with a couple of my dad's friends, songwriter friends, producer friends, and got to hear stories, even more stories about him, which was really cool to hear and to know that he had a hand in influencing Stephen Curtis Chapman as a songwriter.
Which is awesome. Yeah, that's incredible.
I didn't know that my dad was an adjunct professor at Belmont University when Stephen Curtis Chapman was a student there, and he taught songwriting. So that was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah.
I was like, neat. Tell me more. And so Marty, his main songwriter partner, told me this story of that night. So, obviously us kids are in bed, and my dad had told me a little bit of the story. He'd gone outside on the sidewalk that led up to our house, and he just looked up and was staring at the stars. And this song title that he'd heard in a radio interview with the Imperials years before, they said, no, it must be just some other time, another place. And he just latched onto that. He was a big proponent of songs. The best songs are written off of a title, not out of a chorus or a hook or anything like that. You have a title, you have a theme, and then you go. And so he wrote this song, Another Time, Another Place, and called Marty at like 3 or 4 in the morning and was like, you got to come over here. The early 90s with no cell phones. So you got the landline blowing that up. Mm-hmm. And he came over and he said that my dad just plunked out this chorus and a couple of verses. And he just said, that's it, Gary. That's it. That's it. And so they sent it in and it got picked up. And he won his 2 Dove Awards for that. I think there's a gold record hanging up in my sister's house.
Do you still have the Dove Awards?
My grandpa has them. He has them on display at his senior living facility for everyone to know.
That's awesome.
He is the definition of a proud dad.
Grandpa Joe?
Working in hospice, that like I love that.
Yeah. Man, he has a whole like thing, like display case set up in his honor.
Because when you not to get off topic, but when you work in like the healthcare field and you get to go into patients' room and they're so proud to like show you pictures of their family, like it's the coolest thing, you know, because you don't know their whole life story, but you get to hear them tell from their perspective.
I might be a senior adult already because I love showing pictures of my friends and family and like look at Caleb.
Shut up.
What about me?
Look at your pompadour pumping.
You know actually your brother.
You were talking about how like proud, like your Grandpa Joe's like a very proud, like to have, from my perspective of still having a dad.
Thanks, Caleb.
to have the strained relationship that I have with my dad, and to still know that he is wildly proud of his 4 sons that he pushed into music and all this, and like you saw like the big family album that we have, and like all the like newspaper clippings and photos that he took, and just things that he just kept because he's so proud of us. And like when people look at it, they're like, "This is so cool," and I'm like, they're not great memories for me, but my dad is incredibly proud, and so it's a wildly weird feeling.
My favorite was the easel that was in your mom's house that had that like poster board on it with all you guys on there.
Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna
little Caleb with his.
Since we're talking about losing a loved one, I will say, like right now, those pictures and stuff may not seem, you know, you're like, oh yeah, that's the boy band, but I think, you know, the Dove Awards, you know, your grandpa's showing them off. The thing is when you lose someone, you hold on to whatever you can because you don't want to lose that person. Because I would give anything to hear my brother's voice again, to hear Ron's voice again, to be able to just hug them one more time. And I think you could even, if I could just have 1 hour, like, and so like you do hold on to like, whether it's a shirt, you know, I still have their flowers from their funerals up in my room, and I will never get rid of them.
That's why the movie Onward wrecked me. I was like, oh,
yeah,
to have an hour, like even just that time again, which, you know, I'm lucky because my dad again was a songwriter, but also an artist as well. From that song, he got offered a contract and he ended up turning it down because, you know, can't go on the road. He's got 3 kids at home and still trying to figure that out. But he recorded a lot of music. I so much of his music. And so I get to hear his singing voice a lot, but there's one particular song that I get to hear his speaking voice, and it's funny as all get out. But it was from the song that we're actually doing for Easter, the opening, the Risen with Him opening.
Oh yeah.
And he does this whole monologue bit talking about how, you know, he's one of the disciples and they race to the tomb. It's so funny. He does this fake laugh in there and it cracks me up every time. Yeah. I'm like, that's so good. He's like, it's a wonderful thing. And, you know, I get to listen to that, but also on our Maywood album, that the band that my sister, you get to hear my dad's voice say, "Are you ready?" Yeah.
Hey, wait a second, folks. Joel was also in a band. So if you want to harass him about his band,
they can find you on Apple Music, can't they?
Yeah. I was also in an acapella quartet. Shout out Josh Gibbs, Tim Bishop,
Gibbs. I don't know the other two, but I know Gibbs. Do I know the other two?
No, you don't know Tim.
No. Gibbs is the realist. Anyways, we're good at getting off topic.
Gibbs is my oldest friend that I have to this day. We met when we were 10 years old.
So you like been friends for 50 years now?
How old do you think I am?
Just kidding. Yeah. So
he's older than I am. So Gibbs, you're old. Anyway,
I think, you know, I've talked on this show. I lost my brother. His was more sudden. He had a non-alcoholic pancreatitis that went septic. Went to a coma, and so we never really got to say goodbye, but I was the one that was in the room whenever, you know, they took him off the vent and stuff like that, and we then he passed. And then Ron, of course, his journey was cancer, and that was more recent. I know you're well aware, and so they know that I've lost some family members. But what did your grief journey look like after Your
Man,
parents, your dad.
Massive avoider here. You know, one of the things that I've learned about me is in all my time of counseling, one of my favorite therapists that I had, huge empath. He, like, anytime you would tell stories, he would be the one crying, and you're like, gosh, he feels all of your pain. But he let me know that I'm a big time avoider of all my feelings. And so when my dad passed away, I mean, that next week, my sister and I are standing on stage leading worship like we were happy.
Mm-hmm.
All the while I'm going, this sucks, bro. I don't get to call him anymore. I don't get to get the email critiques from him on my songs that suck. And for him to let me know that they can be better, or for him to let me know how good I'm doing. That was something else. And so, you know, I masked a lot of that by just kind of diving back into school basketball. And then Cassandra and I started dating that summer, June, and I got to know her father really well, Don, and he had leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and B cell. And so they'd given him like 5 months to live. He ended up living a year, but I got to know him for, I think, 3, almost 4 months. And he became dad fast to me.
Yeah.
He was another, like, proud kind of dad. He called me, would, you know, just want to talk, would want me to come over and do something with him. Let me stay the night at their house. Because I was going to wake up in the morning and go mow the lawn with him, which that never happened because he woke up and I was still dead asleep on the couch. I do remember one time the stairs, coming down those stairs, and then like my leg was hanging off the side of the couch, and I just remember feeling a hand pick it up and put it back on, and I opened my eyes and it was him, and he just went back up. I was like, you know, it was really cool getting to know him. And I had a really cool moment with him before he passed. He passed on September 12th, which is the day after my birthday. Yes, I'm a 9/11 birthday. So September 12th, he passed. But on the Monday before that, we had been in town. Cass and I came back in town. He called me. He was like, "You're coming into town?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Great. We want to have a birthday dinner for you because it'll be this Friday." And I was like, "Awesome." So he's like, "What do you want to eat?" And I told him, and he's like, "That's it." Because I was a basic kind of person. Like,
do you know?
My favorite home cooked meal is homemade fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and white gravy.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Okay." Like, that was just easy for him. He was a really good cook. So him and Christy did that for me. And then that Monday, Cass got in the car with her friend and they went back to St. Louis to school. And before I left, I turned around and went back in the house, and I talked to him and was just like, "Hey, I just wanted to know, just, you know, not that it would be anytime soon, but would you be okay if and he knew that I was going to ask. And so I said, "Would you be okay if I married your daughter?" And he stood up, and he was 6'8". So he stands up, and it's just like,
he just keeps going up,
you know, and he pulls me in close, and he says, I would love nothing more than that. And then he's holding on to me, and he whispers down to me, and he said, "I need you to take care of my girls for me." And that was that moment I was like, oh, he knows.
Yeah.
And so then that Friday was my
tearing
birthday.
up over here, Joel.
Right? That Friday was my birthday, and I got a phone call that, hey, things aren't looking good. And then the next day passed.
I think it's really cool that you were able to get that, be able to ask them that question ahead of time, and that you took the opportunity to.
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I knew Cassandra. I knew it was you.
You can say it into the camera like Cassandra watches this show.
She doesn't watch the show.
She doesn't watch the show.
She doesn't watch the show?
She doesn't watch the show.
She's got things, man.
People have
she
lives,
is the most
Levi.
busy human.
One thing I want to
She's moving
touch
always.
on is you said it. You can ET.
Touch on.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
You mentioned how, like, when you lost your dad, you went right straight back into doing life, doing worship. And I think a lot of people get, they look at people and they're like, oh, they're doing really good. And the thing is I watched this documentary and I would recommend it to many people, and it's specifically on someone who lost a brother, but it's called My Brother Jordan. It's on YouTube, and there's lots of things I could quote from that, but one thing specifically is he talks about whenever the next 2 years after he lost his brother, it's like he knew what to do. He knew what to do. He knew how to do everything, but he wasn't actually living or processing. Like, it was just like a revolving circle, because like your daily life, yes, I can go lead worship, I can go to work, I can do this, and I can do that, but at the end of the day, I'm not really processing anything. And I think people misunderstand that for like they are doing really well. And so they tend to back off on like, and not that like you need people overpouring you.
Right.
But I think, and this is one of the questions, but kind of headline, but it's like, what advice would you give to people who know someone who has lost someone, which is a hard one to answer.
Would you ask it differently? Like, how do you comfort someone who's going through a loss or experience loss? How do you offer comfort?
Yeah, and I think it's a hard question.
Yeah. It's hard because a lot of the time too, we want to deflect. We want to push those things off. We want to be like, nah, I'm good. I'm really okay. No, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I'll tell you this story. And it's from a person who maybe she knew that my dad had died, but I don't know if she did. Sorry, Julia. I just coughed right at her. So Father's Day 2019, 11 years after my dad had died, I had just led at the main location at Life Church. And they had just renovated their auditorium, and there was one section that was closed off because there, I guess, some glue or something in between had caught on fire.
Oh,
and it was really kind of Anyway, so I'm sitting up there at the top where nobody was, and I'm typing out that obligatory Father's Day post, and I've got a picture of Dad on there with all of us, and I'm like, at the end of it, I wrote, you kept the faith, or you ran your race, you kept the faith, and now you are home. And by the time I got to that last word, I was full on weeping, and I hadn't cried like that since he died. I had not let out tears like that. The closest thing to that was probably when our dog Charlie died. Don't talk about Charlie. Charlie was a great dog. Don't you dare. I know how you felt about him. He was a great dog.
Didn't you name him after the Ouch Charlie video?
Yeah, because he would go around just... Anyway.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, I have a video of you singing to him.
I wasn't going to say anything. You were wearing the Tropics
uniform with the afro. So I was...
I said I didn't want to be on this episode if Joel was here.
You got a whole nother episode, bro.
I'll do better. So... I hadn't cried like that in a long time. And I mean, it's full blown snot, just like I'm tasting it at this point. And somebody on the worship staff walking in the tunnel looks up and just sees me and waves. And I was like, so I come down to explain, like, I probably look like a fool. And her name's Macy. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm going through this, and here's what I was feeling at the time. And she said to me, Joel, I actually had one of those moments not too long ago, and I felt like God was saying, it's time you felt these feelings. And it's okay. And I was like, starting again. And I was like, oh God, you got to get it together, man. And so, I get in my car and I get back to the apartment. But at that time, I felt like it had been 11 years. And any time that I would talk about my dad, I would tell stories. But I would be so angry behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Behind the curtain in my brain where not a lot goes on, I was angry. And I'm doing this whole thing on a Sunday talking about how, when my dad died, I felt alone, but I knew that God was with me. And in the back of my mind going, no, you didn't.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't feel like God was with you. You felt alone and you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying. And I was like, ugh. But I learned something in that moment too, was that I'm not just saying these words to them. I'm saying these words to me.
Yeah.
You need to know that God was there with you that whole step. And I was like, well, okay, I'm okay with that. But when I was up there and I was weeping, I felt like I was holding on to this anger, and I always like put it in my mind like it's a water bottle, because that's what I had with me. And I felt like God just reached over my shoulder and he just put his hands on it and he said, hey, you've been mad long enough. Let me just take this and let me just yanked it out of my hands. And that's when the floodgates came out. And so I think, as somebody who is going through grief, you can check in on them, but I was only going to, and you were only going to tell people so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that it's embarrassing. It's not that you just don't want to keep talking about it.
You don't want to make people feel sorry or like, you want to bring it up, because my biggest thing is that I want to talk about them because I want people to know about them, but I also don't want people to, every time I mention it, be like, ooh, or feel bad.
God.
Actually, my necklace I have. Yeah. So I have this necklace that I wear that has 2 bars on it. One's for Ron and one's for Jeff, my brother, and they have the dates they passed. But I was at Life Group recently and someone was like, oh, that's a cool necklace. What's on the necklace? And I wear this necklace daily and I want to put it, where everyone can see it. But also I hate that question.
It represents the Twin Towers.
But it's for Joel's birthday on.
Said I didn't.
No.
Joel.
But I mean, because then it's that gut feeling of like, I'm getting ready to tell you it's about the people that I've lost in my life. And, and in my mind, I'm already know you're going to instantly get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my favorite pieces of jewelry is the one Caleb got me a couple years ago for Christmas. And it has
he never wears it.
Well, I don't wear a whole lot of jewelry, but it says Cassandra, Abner, Everett, and on the backside, Gary, the one that lands on my heart.
No.
Which,
great
Caleb,
gift
you
giver.
are a good
He's
friend.
a great gift giver.
Wow.
You can't get him nothing, but he can get you whatever. That's great.
One thing, so I mean, I still feel like obviously I've in that phase of just like going through the motions, staying strong, because I feel like I've had to stay strong for, other family members, myself, my family. Mm-hmm. And I think I just don't want to accept it. But for me, like, yes, my faith with God is always there. And I do remember with my brother, I was angry. And because it was so sudden. And with Ron, like at that point, I've been through a really bad loss. And so like, there's still questions, but like I'll ultimately I have the faith in God. But I think what's different with Ron now, and you kind of touched it earlier, because you had mentioned how after your dad passed, Cassie's dad had stepped in and kind of been a dad to you. So for me, my biological dad, he's alive, but we don't have a lot of communication. Mm-hmm. Ron was my dad. And so I, went years with not really having a dad. And then I went 20 years with having a dad. Yeah. And so now I'm at this point where the world feels really empty. Yeah. And the world feels really alone. Mm-hmm. And obviously you can't I was going to say, how do you get through that? But you can't just get through that. It's just time.
No.
Because
do you remember what I said a little bit ago of how we say things on stage?
Mm-hmm.
And we're really talking to ourselves? Do you remember what you said just yesterday? We're just saying what it is.
What did I say yesterday? I kind of took over you talking. I remember that.
And it was fantastic. And this is a great moment for that because you said it.
Yeah.
You said there's somebody in here.
Keep them in suspense.
There's somebody in here who needs to know that you're not alone.
That's true.
God sees you and he hears you.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's wild because we say these things and sometimes maybe it feels like we're just on autopilot, but the Holy Spirit is literally putting these things in our mind for us to say. And he's probably going, hey, buddy.
What's really fun, what I'm really thinking, both services, came into church and I don't know why, but I said, in my mind. I was like, I need to just say, I know that God needs someone here
Yeah.
today, and they need to know that He is here and He hears you.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of funny because now we're here tonight and we're talking. That's very interesting.
Look at God, as Caleb likes to say.
Yeah, look at God.
Look at him.
You know, I think another thing people don't, if you haven't been through it, you can't really fully understand. And this is one of the things in life I can truly say, because grief and losing someone obviously will never go away.
No.
And it is the craziest roller coaster you'll probably ride. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Because you can be at a really good high in your life where you feel like everything's fine. And the next day something hits you.
Boom.
And then you're in a deep, dark spot.
Yeah.
Kind of random, but today for the first time ever, I saw 2 cardinals together.
Look at that.
Which, you know, I have the song Cardinals for Jeff, but instantly I've never seen 2 cardinals together. I was driving back from Warrensburg. Well, I saw them and they flew away. But for me, I was just like, wow, there's Ron and Jeff.
Yeah.
So, and sorry, that was random, but
anytime I see one of those old Big Dog t-shirts, remember those?
Oh,
Big Dogs, Big Dog t. That's all my dad wore. He was like a poster child.
What is it? White people stuff?
Yeah.
I just don't know what they. I'll have to Google that later to see what they look like. Maybe I've seen them. I don't. I'm gonna reserve any comments right now.
Well, Caleb, I feel like, because you've asked this before, what we've been talking about is how can you support someone? How can you comfort someone? Mm-hmm. And Joel's right. The person who's lost someone that you're going to go to, if you come and be like, how are you feeling? How you doing, man? You're going to be like, I'm good. I'm fine. Because you don't want to accept it. But I will say what I noticed the most was people showing up. Yeah. And that's what I talked about, even though, because we brought
even though you fell asleep, bro. I was sitting there and I did this. I'm not kidding you. This was me. I was like this and I went. And I elbowed Emily and she looks at me and she goes, like she knew. It's funny thing. When you were telling that story, I was done. I was like, oh, well,
and the thing is to me, again, and I mentioned it back then, the biggest thing was someone showing up. Yeah. I didn't have that with Jeff. Yeah. Some people did, but I mean, I definitely,
text message will only go so far, right?
Yeah. Well, and then even after, I mean, I remember my friend Clint. So now everyone knows, the whole world knows I like wrestling.
Wrestling.
But he bought tickets to a WWE live show, and had an extra and asked me to take, because he knew I was down. And so, I mean, just to take me out of,
like, you were down to go, or you were down?
Both.
Both. I was both down.
But he asked if I could go, and I asked Julia, and I was able to go. And honestly, just getting out of the house, and things like that. And so, just being a friend, I think is.
There were 2 people in my life that I know that were really, really good at it. Your siblings help you in a different way, right? My sister and my brother, they're just ways that we can comfort each other. But Cassandra and Caleb is probably one of the reason I would say he's my best friend is because when I would have my fits, and you remember those fits, he would just be there. He would just be there with me. He didn't ask questions.
Well, I was scared.
He didn't ask questions. He didn't.
Out of fear.
He didn't try to find an answer. That's one of the things I've always appreciated, is that he's never tried to find an answer for me. He's just let me be mad or do my thing. And then afterward be like, you good? No. Okay. Or, yeah, I'm good. And then we just move on. Or he would get into a car with me and go drive when he was just like, I don't want to be here. But he's a good friend, and he can't help but be a good friend. And then Cassandra, I mean, she was that rock for me. That was there processing all the stuff. You remember that time?
No, I don't.
At USA 800 where I broke down crying, sitting there at the desk. And you were just like, everybody leave him alone. This is the anniversary of, we just gotta.
But Caleb, I really think you, I mean, that's really that really does show a lot of you for stepping up and being a friend like that. And you may not see that, but those are the things that truly people don't forget.
Yeah.
And I can agree with your spouse because Julia, I mean, throughout the loss that we've been through in our first 5 years of marriage, she has seen me at my absolute worst. And I mean, sobbing on a floor.
Yeah.
Which, as a man, you don't like to admit that you cry. Which I think is dumb. But I mean, she has been there for every moment and she's held it with grace. And I know that Cassie's done the same for you. And I've had you guys step up in ways, both of you too, especially as we've grown closer. And then my friend Brandy as well. She's always been there as well and been able to support me. And you mentioned going on car rides, and we would just used to go on car rides and just sing Mayday Parade. You know that band?
Nope.
Do you know that band?
That's some white people stuff. I don't know.
So both of y'all I've given.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think that's a really good statement. Yeah.
Yes.
Both of you folks are aware of the relationship that I have with my father.
Yeah.
And the tension that is there and the situation that it is. I don't like that. I don't like the way that it is, but I am selfishly wanting it to be something that the reality is, and I know the reality is that it can't be like that. And I'm having a horrible time letting that go. And it's turning, it's just turned into anger, like with like me just being mad at my dad all the time.
Yeah.
One, do y'all look at me like, bro, you're a fool, you need to let this go? Or like, how do you, with someone that's still like luckily I have time left on this earth with my dad, but I can't get past like what the relationship is versus what I want it to be.
I mean, no, I don't look at you as a fool. It's funny because as you go through these things, you grow and you learn a lot. I think about yourself in different aspects. But I remember after I lost my brother Jeff, I had a gig with you and Joshua, and you guys weren't even talking to each other.
Yeah,
and I remember I'm like,
hush.
I was like, what's up? And so I was talking to Josh and I made the comment. I said something about like, y'all need to fix your issues or something. I said, because you may not always have him. And he was like, man, you can't pull that card. And I wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
But I mean, back then I'm like, no, because when I lost my brother, I was like, anyone who would like get mad at their sibling, I'm like, you guys don't understand. Yeah. But I've learned a lot throughout this process, and I want to let you speak to that question. But I think that one thing you mentioned when your brother was on was that time you went to therapy. And I think what that therapist told you was maybe something that still holds true this day is that you still feel like maybe you have to protect little Caleb. And because of that, you're not ready to let some of those frustrations go because the past is there. It's not going to change. The only thing that we can, look to is the future. And with the days that you have left, the years, I mean, there's got to be compromise probably on both sides. Obviously, as Chris had talked as well, you want to set safe and healthy boundaries. But I think if there's things that you feel like have really damaged you or like you have left unsaid, I think you should take the opportunity to say them, but when you can say them in a healthy manner, not just, I can't stand you because you did this. You need to be able to process it maturely with them. Because our parents, they are who they are. We've talked about this because of how they were raised and things that they were done, and they did the best with what they had, and I think that if that is something you're already feeling, then I think it's something you really need to look into, and because you don't know how long you have.
Yeah, no.
But I'm sorry. I've talked a lot.
We don't know what we don't know. So if your dad doesn't know, you already know this. We've had these talks. I remember when I moved back from Oklahoma and we were going to group together, men's group, not like AA.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your dad moving in, and I was like, dog, you need to go to therapy. You gotta go. And then you were like, yeah, I went. And I was like, how was it? Your response, I don't know if it's because I think I need to go see an old black lady. I was like, all right, maybe.
I think I do.
Sure.
All right.
But that was a while ago.
No, you're not going to avoid the question. We're not done.
No,
I see. Look who's avoiding now.
First of all, look, we're
I know
at
a little
time. We need to be thinking about.
I know a little bit more, and he and I have already had
this.
these conversations. He knows. We don't need to hash this
What
out.
do you think about putting a bow on this? That's all I'm
There's
saying.
a couple things I want to touch on, and yes, we're running over time, but
Two-part this.
No,
I do.
You're good enough for one.
There's one more question, and then one thing I want to talk about before we get to the weekly segment.
Nobody's
Okay,
going to watch
go for
this.
it.
So, I think we kind of already talked about it, but one question I wanted to have you discuss is, can grief become unhealthy or dangerous?
Yes.
I think you can weaponize it for sure and use it against people. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets unhealthy when you're like just giving up, like when you're no longer moving forward. I think that's where it kind of gets unhealthy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like I can say that, I can speak to that on one occasion that I won't, name, but it gets unhealthy in
agree.
ways for sure. But I think that the idea of you got to feel those feelings, man. You gotta let things out. You got to let people in. The more you push people out, the more you isolate, you're getting further and further away of God's design for us as humans, and that's to be in community. And even if it's just one person that you're letting in, that's not necessarily your spouse, because your spouse is going to be there, unless they hate you.
Julia,
Then
do you hate
stay
me?
in that relationship?
Then stay in that relationship. Worst advice. So
No, I think that's great. The other thing, just to kind of wrap up this conversation, I think there is more we could talk about grief and loss, but I actually saw this on TikTok today, and I love this.
You on the TikTok?
I am right now. We'll see how,
Oh yeah, you sent me one the other day. You keep sending me some like super inspirational ones. Why do you do that?
I was actually telling you that you're a really good friend, and I'll always be there for you. I sent it to both of y'all.
I felt special up until now.
Dude, Julia's face in that moment was great. She's like, ooh, shoot. I'm so sorry.
But it's talking.
Thank you for
talking about backpacks.
What is that? Never mind. Go on.
Yeah.
Backpacks.
So, I mean, I've heard it said different ways, but I saw this quote today, and it really kind of I think it speaks to when people are grieving, but also when you're just going through rough times in your life. But the quote says, we all have a bag. We all pack differently. Some of us are traveling light. Some of us are secret hoarders who've never parted with a memory in our lives. I think we are all called to figure out how to carry our bag to the best of our ability, how to unpack it, and how to face the mess. I think part of growing up is learning how to sit down on the floor with all your things and figuring out what to take with you and what to leave behind. And I've always loved that because, you got to imagine everyone has a backpack. And we all have different things, different bricks that have happened in our life, been thrown at us from whatever, and they keep on getting piled on. Some people's backpacks may be heavier than others, and even at different points. And I think it's easy to see someone doing great, but you should also remember that everyone has a story and everyone is going through something. And I personally really like that. I think it's part of growing and keeping yourself mentally healthy. But that's what the backpack thing was about.
That was good.
I haven't been on TikTok since like 7:00 this morning, but I will watch that.
Also, I send y'all TikToks all the time and you never respond. That should be my rant.
They're not good.
Wait, I have one thing to add to this. So there's a song that I would love for you guys, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. All of you 5 people listening or watching, please. It's by Alan Stone. If you know who Alan Stone is, incredible bluesy artist. When you see a picture of him after you've heard his voice, you're like, what? He's incredible. He wrote this song for Father's Day. I don't know what it's titled because he didn't put it out there like that. And I'm hoping it will be on a record soon. But the lyric in there, it talks about being a father, right? But the chorus is, it starts with your father's father loved in his own way. And if you would ask him, this is what he would say. I'll fail, but I will always try. I will do wrong things, but I'll apologize. And I'll show you what it's like to forgive. I'll give you space, but I'll never leave. I'll give you a safe place for you to grieve. And if you get lost, please remember this, that a father's love knows where you live.
Yeah.
And that song, the first time I heard it, dude, again, after becoming a dad, I just cry at anything. Yeah. And I was in tears. And I revisited that this morning because it like ran through again. I was like, oh, look at that. So there I am sitting on the couch listening to this. But it really rings true for me.
Yeah.
Because my father was that kind of person who taught me how to forgive, who was not afraid to apologize to me. He didn't think himself too big for that.
Yeah.
And he was always there, like, to let me fall, but hey man, you're good, get up. And so when I see my boys growing up, I try to do it the same way. I'm going to get it wrong. Like, we talk about our dads and the things that, man, you don't want to be like a certain way. Don't swing too far to the other side. Don't be too much the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Be somewhere in the middle if you can. But I always look to that for my dad and think, I'm grateful that he taught me those things because I'm teaching those to my boys.
Yeah.
I'm hugging them. I'm kissing them. And I'm showing them that it's okay. Like today, Abner threw a football, like a dart at Everett's face. Just wham! And Everett's just, ah! And I'm just standing there. I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Okay. Well, then get up. We're still playing football, man. It's okay to hurt and cry. And then I was like, do you need me to do? Yeah. And, Abner wrecks his bike. And I want to remember, my dad there was a story that my dad told me when I was older. The one time I was riding this bike down a hill really bad and it was wet and I hit the corner and hit some gravel and just ate it. And my knee skinned up, right? And so we're sitting in the living room and he's like, I have to put this on there. I was like, is it going to sting? Is it going to sting? And he goes, no, it's not going to sting. And I was like, okay, I trust him. He sprays it. Oh, it stung.
Yeah.
But, I trusted my dad. And in the end, it was for my better.
Yeah.
What's funny is his recount of that story is he had pulled up slowly and seen the gang of us kids at the top of this hill and all of them come down. And he knew that, I hadn't been riding my bike like without training wheels, but for a little while. And he was like, ooh, this is going to be dangerous. And so he just sat there and he let me do it. Yeah. He let me experience that pain because he knew it would help. One, not do something stupid like that again. Right. Or maybe if I do, be a little bit more careful.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I carry with me about him and the way that he parented me. A little too much with kid gloves here and there, but I was the baby, so I get it. When I see Everett, I'm like, yeah, I'm too kid glovey with you, man. I'm so sorry. But anyway,
I love that. And I you're going to kill me, Caleb. There was actually one big thing to the backpack thing I didn't even say. I know, but
is it a JanSport at least? Because those are cool.
No, it was actually something my wife told me. Oh. My wife said to me, and this was after, it may have been when we were going through Ron's cancer journey, but she was talking about how she has not experienced. So like I said, we carry different backpacks. She has not experienced the level of loss or the level of things that I've had to go through in her life. She hasn't, which I'm thankful she hasn't, but she said, she kind of had a full circle moment where, she feels like she didn't do that. Like, because we're together, she's able to carry some of my baggage that I'm not able to carry, because she doesn't have as much. And I think that is one, I love my wife, but I think that is true too. And sometimes you have to carry your spouse's weight.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe it's even carrying your friend's weight. Yeah. But that was the ending of what I wanted to say with the backpack thing. So I did want to. So you can flip that and add that back in. But
You do what you want, Julia. Don't listen to him.
So on
This is your
to
show.
the weekly segment that Caleb's been waiting for in 3 hours to get to.
I got one, but go
Here's the
ahead.
thing. I think we should let the people decide what the weekly segment's called.
I feel like no.
I think the people should decide. We're gonna when this episode posts, I'm gonna put a poll out and let them choose rants or praises or that's how you feel.
I think it should
If
be
you
called That's How
know
You Feel.
me and yet if I work with you, vote for That's How You Feel. I'll bring you coffee.
I think it should be called That's How You Feel because it's a rant or a praise. You don't have to define it.
And the only other reason why is
I love
because
you.
you've even talking about conspiracies during this thing.
That's how you feel.
You're gonna rant or praise about a conspiracy?
Them aliens, bro.
My rant this week or
What's that?
praise is actually I'm gonna praise.
It's your praise.
I'm gonna praise my spouse
Ooh,
because
yeah.
so to in order to praise my spouse, I have to tell a story. One time, thank you. One time, like
Just
3
kidding.
weeks ago, like
Pins
3
and
weeks ago,
needles.
one time, like we had up until like 3 weeks ago, we had like taken turns putting our son to bed. He's like 4 months old, so we had taken turns up until like 3 weeks ago.
Is this the
And-
story?
One time she put him to bed and I don't know what happened to me, but I became scared that I could not do it again. And the next day and the next day and the next day, I would either go somewhere when it was time to put him down, or I would say, hey, can you put him down? Or I want to go clean the kitchen. I would literally do anything to not put my son down. I became scared. And so this went on for a few weeks. And one day I've been home with him. One day she comes home and I've been with him all day. And I'm like, take this kid. You need to come over here and like be a parent. Like I didn't say that, but like I was like, you need to help out with this kid right now. And she was like, I'm tired too. And she just starts to just yell at me about like how she's been tired and how she gets up with him at night because she still wants to nurse. And as she's like just like lamenting over the past few weeks of what she's been doing, I start like, idiot.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And so, it ensued a fight later on. But
I'd say, but wasn't there an out of spite part?
no, I don't think so. Yeah, okay, yeah. But see that
You didn't
it
tell
doesn't
that part.
matter. But we'll get to that later on. We'll touch on that later. So she
Turd.
just starts like laying into me all the things that she's been doing. And she's like, and you haven't put him to bed in weeks. And I was
Amen.
like, oh, you noticed. She's like, yeah, I've noticed.
Oh, Lord.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm never going to do it again after that. But no, I said I was going to do it tonight. And I was so scared to do it. But I mean, I got him down. I don't know why I was so scared to do it. But so my praise is to my spouse for just, I mean, she's been getting up in the middle of the night to take care of him. Gosh. Yeah. Shout out to my spouse.
Shout out to him. Like, going through parenthood, especially the first time, you learn a lot about you and your spouse, and you
Oh,
learn a lot
Lord.
about yourself.
I
So
was terrified.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
it's not as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
it is, but no. So my praise this week is to my spouse. Shout out to you.
Shout out Emily. You the realist.
Can you do both a praise and a rant?
He's got one for that.
I got a rant too. I got another rant.
Can we just go around and start with the praises? Let's do the praises.
Yeah.
I don't have
No, because for real, I want to shout out Cassandra as well, or Emily too, because Lord knows she has to put up with you. So,
Ha.
but Cassandra,
Truth.
the stuff that she's walked with
This
through,
is your segment now.
yes, my praise is for that woman, that 6 foot tall, beautiful blonde.
She doesn't watch the show, Joel. It doesn't.
She doesn't. It doesn't matter. People will know. Will be like, oh my goodness, he was amazing. Here's the thing. It's the truth. She puts up with me, and that's all that needs to be said, because the things that I put her through or have put her through, and she's still there. She's patient. The definition of love is patient.
Mm.
So
Love is kind.
thank you, Cassandra, for loving me through all my crap.
Well,
Your wife is dope.
Well,
Yeah,
now
she-
if I don't praise my wife,
You better do. You already have, man.
Yeah, you have,
You just
bro.
talked about the backpack thing. We did.
No, I
Just
know.
now throw it back in this part.
This whole podcast has been your love letter to your spouse. It's like,
Seriously, dude.
I love her
Get
so
a
much.
room.
you have a rant this week?
I do.
What's your rant?
Have you ever been around someone who is just smacking while they're eating,
Yes.
just chomping, mouth wide open, talking like it's nobody's business?
David Sr.
My dad.
Oh, does he?
Oh Lord.
Man.
Oh Lord. It is loud.
Oh,
He is. Hey, have you ever seen Friday?
I have a video.
John Witherspoon, Pop. That's it. Let me tell you something.
There's a video.
That's it.
I think it was on
so
Snapchat. It might have been on Instagram. I don't know. I gotta find it. But he was eating grapes. It's a quiet food, but it was the loudest.
It comes with the.
And I started like recording just the audio.
Oh, it's so good.
And I played it back to him, and he's like, "What is that?" I was like, "That's you." So loud.
so I'm not alone.
Oh yeah.
No,
loud
it drives
ears.
me crazy though. There's sometimes I'll be scrolling on TikTok and it pops up where they're just like, and I'm like, get. Ugh.
Okay, I'm
not an
a
ASMR person.
I'm a whole hypocrite
part.
because my wife sometimes is like, "Can you close your mouth?" Like, 'cause I'll be
You're a
gum.
chip off the old block, Bubba.
Gum. I'm horrible with like if I'm chewing bubble gum.
Smack it.
my
It's
wife,
bad.
my wife gets mad at me because she chews with her mouth closed, but we'll just be eating. I swear, I can just
She's so
hear.
polite.
I can just hear the saliva and just everything. And I'm like, could you eat quieter? And she's like, I'm just taking a bite. I'm just eating food. And I'm like, no, you're like making a freaking, I don't know, but
I have to eat cereal by
I
myself.
love you, Julia.
What about the people who moan during?
She says she eats normal.
Oh,
I don't want to out this person, but I know someone that does.
Someone close to you.
Very close.
Mm-hmm.
My father-in-law.
Isn't he getting ready to come stay with you for 10 days? Does he watch this podcast?
I don't know. But like no, he kind of like moans a little bit like like when he eats. I'm just like
All right, we are running
So my rant
way over time.
is when people type LOL after any and every text.
I don't do
Bro,
that.
that's not funny.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, hey, you want to go grab lunch? Lol.
LOL.
Yeah.
What was funny about that?
What? Yep. Also,
Man, that kills me. I'm just like, no, LOL.
Also, I hate when people text back K.
Oh, I do that to you on purpose.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, because like there's some.
I know that about you.
Well,
sure.
well, I mean, if it's right. If someone just
I
responds and
text you
says
that.
K, that's
The
like
last time I text you that, even though I've done it a million times before and you've said the same response, you're dead to me. But here I sit.
I send it to people that have told me that they don't like it.
What's funny is
Now
I
you know.
used to. I'm not as particular about this because I know it's a me thing, but I used to get so mad when people would use periods in texting.
Punctuation.
I hate grammar. I hate punctuation.
All right.
English subject.
Because it just felt so short to me. But then the people that knew that
The thumbs up that you get
when
nowadays,
they
I'm
would
like, might
text
as well
me
send me
with
a
the
middle
periods
finger.
on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, that grinded my gears. Because I'm like, now you're just trying. Anyways, folks,
Yeah.
this has been a long episode of That's How You Feel.
That's how you
Joel,
feel. Yeah.
Yay. We can add that in there.
No.
I told you I watch, bro.
Anyways, folks, thank you for watching, tuning in this week. As always, Caleb, what do they need to do if they want to?
Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, leaving reviews. We appreciate it. Yeah. We love you guys.
What is this
See ya.
font?
It's called Homegrown.
That's the end of the episode. We're done.